Hello, and welcome to another episode of Two Moms and Some Labels. Two Moms and Some Labels is a platform created for families caring for a child with a disability to come together in a shared space to commune, network, and gain ideas on how to persevere through challenging times. My name is Brittany.
I'm Nicole.
And we are so excited to talk with you today about living in the hospital. So, the topic of today is living in the hospital. On today's episode, we are going to dive into one of the things that most of us dread, which is going to the hospital. We know all too well that just one emergency room trip or doctor's visit can easily turn into a whole 1 day thing to a 1 week inpatient hospital stay. Many of us have also experienced premature births, which has been one of, if not the leading cause of our children's disabilities. So, we want to get down to the core of what I would call living in the hospital.
Yes, yes.
So, I'm going to let Nicole go first. So,
Yeah.
Nicole, how long have you ever stayed in the hospital with Lorenzo?
The longest we have stayed was our initial stay after birth was 11 months. So we stayed from September 2017 to August 2018. That was our longest stay. How about you? What was your longest stay?
So, our longest stay was 6 months. I had Ayana at 24 weeks, and of course, you can't take a baby home that early. So 6 months was the longest time that we stayed in the
Mm,
hospital.
that's
And
a long
that,
time.
I know, and that was from what, November until about what, May of 2009 to 2010.
Wow.
So, yeah, we went in when it was cold, and then
Came
we
out a
got
whole
back out and it was the spring and the sun was shining bright. So that
wow.
was a very, very long 6 months in the hospital.
Yes, yes. How did it feel when those 6 months ended? Were you scared?
Oh my gosh. So when the 6 months ended, I think I was relieved, I was scared, I was anxious, nervous. I was all of the above because, we had waited so long to be able to finally take our little girl home.
Mhm,
And, when she was first born, we automatically were told, like, she may not survive,
mhm,
prepare for the worst.
mhm.
And so there was already predictions that she was not even going to make it. And,
Right.
we were able to get past that. But I definitely had that car seat ready to go. I was always like, when can we use the car seat? When can we put her in it? Because we are ready to go.
Right. Yeah.
Um, and so for us, I think that, that was 2009. So that was some time ago. And back then, when we were trying to go home, they had to do car seat checks.
Yes. Our
And yeah, I don't know if they still do that. I just had a baby, and they didn't do a car seat check. So I don't know if it was maybe something just for, kids coming home out the NICU, or if they,
still
do
to
it.
Lorenzo had one. I was like you. I remember he was born in September. I remember in November they were explaining to me. Now, mind you, he's still tiny on a ventilator. We're not going anywhere anytime soon. But they told me, oh, he's gonna have to do a car seat check. I'll never forget. I left the hospital. Toys R Us in Town Center was open. I went and got me because remember I hadn't had a baby shower or anything yet. I went and got me the travel set and I put that car seat in my back seat. And I was like, whenever they tell me that it's time for this car seat check, I'm gonna run down to the garage and be like, boom, let's go. Here it is. No, I don't have to go home to get it. I'm ready. That was like I think in NICU world, that's how you knew it was almost time to go home when they tell you, Mom, go ahead and get ready to bring your car seat. And you're like,
Yes.
oh, okay, we're getting there. And then you realize, yay. And then you realize your life still is going to be a couple of more hospital visits and stuff like that. So, how did you? What was one of the experiences you had with a staff member that sticks in your mind through all your hospital stays, inpatient, that was that's still with you to this day?
So man, for us, like, I feel like I see so many other parents saying, how great their stay was, and I never like to, like, downplay or talk negative about, anyone or anything. I try to look at it in a positive light, but again, this was 2009 when we were in the hospital. There was not really much technology. And I think now, like, you can actually sleep there at the hospital
Mhm,
with your child in the NICU, and that definitely was not an option when we were there. But so for us, I always say, like, I don't remember our experience being a positive experience or a good experience. I always felt like the only positive thing that came out of it was my daughter, Ayana, of course, being able to make it through when they said that she wasn't.
mhm,
Um, and I mean, I even remember when they gave us like this packet, and the packet had this packet, it had a pamphlet in it, and the pamphlet was like a bereavement packet or some kind of pamphlet talking about, how to deal with the death of your child, basically, pretty much is what
mhm,
it was. So it was like they were already expecting for
mhm,
us to be in bereavement about our child not being able to make it through. So I guess I can share like a positive experience, and I'm going to share, you know, a positive experience and experience that was not so positive. Because I like to keep it real, keep it, 100. I'm not going to sugarcoat anything. And everybody's experience is not the same, but this is my experience. It was what our experience was. It was a part of my journey. And I feel like it also is something that helps me become like who I am today. And as we stated before in the intro episode, like becoming an advocate also. So for me, the positive experience that I had in the NICU was we had this one nurse, and I'm like, now I can't even remember her name, but we had this one nurse, and she was amazing. She treated Ayana like she was her own child, and she was always checking on her. She always wanted to make sure she had Ayana as her, one of her patients that she was caring for when she was working on her shift. And I was always like, yes, please, please make sure that we have her as our nurse. And she always would like call us and give us updates and stuff, because back then also we had to call the hospital to be able to get updates, to check in. And I remember plenty of times when I was trying to get through, or they were too busy, or something was going on in the NICU, so I wasn't even able to get through. There's times I had to call multiple times, or I had to wait on hold for who knows how long to get a report from the nurse about how she was doing. But that was the positive experience. The one nurse, she was amazing. She had even made us something, um, and I don't remember what it was. My memory is horrible, but she had made us something too, And I'll have to try to look through all my stuff and see if I can find it. But we loved that nurse. She was amazing. And then on the other hand, I feel like, as being African American, that, we already have this kind of like stigma over us, like we're not educated, we don't know a lot, or she's a single mom, she, just had this baby and she's by herself, the dad's not involved, or what have you. But for me, that was not the case. Ayana's dad, he was very much there, present, and involved. And I just remember like every time that he was there and the staff would talk to us, like they would talk to me. They wouldn't even like look at him. They wouldn't even really like greet him when they were giving us updates. It was just like he was a ghost. And they would not pay him any attention, or talk to both of us, which I feel like, when you're in a conversation and you're talking to parents, you should be making eye contact with both parents, or any person that is there and trying to receive the information. And so it was like they kind of excluded him out from everything and just only told me everything, basically because they weren't greeting him, they weren't acknowledging that he was there. And
Mm.
then, so I will never forget that we were told she needed to have the G tube put in,
Right.
the feeding tube, that she gets her feedings through. So we were told she needed to have a feeding tube put in because she wasn't getting all of her nutrition by mouth.
Hmm.
And so I remember I'm like, well, she was eating, she was taking a couple mLs by her bottle.
Okay.
And so, I felt like, okay, she's doing good and she can
Yeah.
probably continue on, eating by mouth. And so, but they were like, no, she needs to gain more weight. And so
Mm.
they were like, we have to do the feeding tube. So I believe they went to do the feeding tube and then they had ran into some issues where they had to remove some intestines, which caused her to have what they call short gut syndrome because they had to remove some intestines. I don't know if it was like a blockage or something, but they had to move some intestines. So that means, they took it out. And so she had the feeding tube. And then I remember I was like, I am not about to use this feeding tube. Like my child, she's able to eat and she is going to eat by mouth. And this is not going to, determine how she's going to be or what she's going to eat. Like we're going to still continue to work towards her getting her nutrition by mouth. And I guess with me saying that, that like triggered the staff.
Mm.
And so we were at home and Ayana was still at the hospital. She wasn't home yet, but we were at home. And I remember getting a knock on the door. I opened the door and it is the Department of Children and Family Services.
Oh
And
wow.
so they're at our door saying that they needed to do
Wow.
a like a welfare check, to see,
Wow.
yeah, to see our living conditions, to make
Mm.
sure that it was safe for a child to be in our home. And I'm just like, what in the world? Like out of the
Mhm.
blue, why would the Department of Children and Family Services be knocking on our door saying they need to do a welfare check or they need to, look at our home and make sure that it is
Mhm.
in a good condition for a child to be there? I'm like, something is not right here. And so
Wow.
come to find out, I don't know if it was a social worker, I don't know if it was a nurse, I don't know who it was on the staff, but hospital staff, they're mandated reporters. And I guess they took what I said about the feeding tube as me saying I'm not going to feed her or something, like I was going to starve my child. And so they had called DCF on me and they were at our door.
Wow.
So that was an experience. And I remember after that I was just like, I'm not even going to speak to the staff like that anymore. It's just going to be me receiving the information from them, and kind of that was it. Like, I'm not even about to show them any emotion. I'm not crying. I'm not doing any of that in front of them, because they might see me as an unfit parent, an
Mhm.
unstable parent. So I didn't even feel comfortable anymore at that point. So I was really like ready to take her home,
Right.
from that point forward. And I did, have to watch what I said, again, what I
Mhm.
did, because I didn't know who was watching and who would take whatever I said or did as, something negatively to report me back to Department of Children and Family Services. But
Right.
that was the a negative and positive experience that I had while we were in the NICU. What about you? What are your what's one of your experiences, or some of your experiences you remember while in the NICU?
Um, During, I will say, Lorenzo's first, from September to February, we were at a hospital and we were just trying to get him really stable enough to get transferred to another hospital. And I remember I was just like dead tired. Um, I was losing hope. I was drained. I'm seeing babies come and leave, and there's no end in sight when my baby's going to be getting discharged. I'm talking to other parents because I'm a positive person. So I'm out there talking to other parents, and the other parents are like, oh my God, we've been here 2 weeks, and they were ready to go home. And I'm like, yeah, I'm on month 3, month 4. Here we are.
Yeah.
And I just remember, him always requiring one nurse. He was the sickest baby in the unit. That's what I constantly heard. They didn't know how he was surviving. He was the sickest baby, sickest baby. I've heard that so many times. And a nurse, Ashley, who I'm still friends with to this day, she saw the defeat in my face. Like, she just saw I was tired. I was so just like, I'm taking on all this information, trying to prepare. I quit my job. I'm a single mom. So my mom is at work. I'm Googling, texting her the information because I'm trying to stay off Google to stay positive. And they have a thing in the hospitals where they have primary nurses. So she picked up shifts. She worked 4 to 5 days a week.
Wow.
She put her name by Lorenzo. She took care of him. Even the days she was not working, she would text the nurse, who has Lorenzo today? She would text the charge nurse and find out he doesn't like to be hot. He doesn't like this. He likes to
Aw.
watch Tom and Jerry at 3 o'clock in the morning. Like, she would just give
Aw.
those details. And I remember calling her one day and was like, hey, I'm not going to be able to be there until like 9. Usually I was there from like 6:30 a.m. till probably like 11:30 p.m. because we couldn't sleep at the hospital either. And she was like, I got him. He's good. And I really did feel like my baby was well taken care of. I've always had the nurses that have drove me crazy. I probably drove them crazy as well. I can be honest, and hold myself accountable. But I will say that we were blessed, and I might have experienced one time with them, and then after that, they never had my son anymore. Every nurse that was placed in our life in the hospital was honestly there for a reason and a season. Not only to take care of my son, but to nurture me as a mother. I'm experiencing so much of thinking my body failed me, still trying to figure me out while being strong for this new life. First time mom, I had delivered 2 babies before. So this was my first living baby. They told me when I delivered my son previously that you're going to have to make it to 24 weeks for him to survive. We only made it to 23 weeks. He couldn't get off the ventilator, but everyone from down to the social worker that I didn't get along with, all of a sudden she switched units. I didn't have to see her anymore. Everyone that was placed on our journey, from respiratory therapists and everything through those 11 months, were great. Now, when we go and we stay inpatient, the new nurses, new things. The biggest thing I have a problem with is listening to me as a mom. When we're in the ED, Lorenzo's I'm sure you know the veins are shot. It's hard to get a
Yeah.
line sometimes. And our babies, their heart rate, you're watching the thing, your heart rate's in 220, the oxygen, they're desaturating like that, and you're like, hold on. So my biggest thing going back to the hospital being inpatient is making sure someone listens to me. Because my son doesn't have a voice, I'm his voice. And there's certain things that, and I'm sure we can look at our children and we can pick up on things. So they might not be vocal verbally to,
Yeah.
everyone out there, but I can just look at Lorenzo and we can connect eye to eye, and I'll know he's in pain. And I'm like, hey, we're doing too much. No, mom, we got to get this. Hey, let's back off. So those are some of my problems with being inpatient. They think because our children don't have a voice, can't really express themselves, tell them when they
Mhm.
show them the smiley faces, show me pain from 1 to 10. It was like, oh, this one looks fun. Let's just point. So it's not really, he's not connecting with what really hurts. And they take that for granted and they just are ready to poke because they're like, oh, well, he can't do anything. He can't do anything. So it's just having that voice for the hospital staff to hear me. It's my only bad experiences. But yeah,
Yeah.
so that's pretty much it.
Yeah. And then even speaking on the veins being shot, oh my gosh. Even to this day, I'm like, if we have to go and she needs some blood work or something, I'm like, I'm just letting you know, you probably are going to have a hard time finding someone,
Mhm.
or finding a vein. So you're going to probably have to get one of your specialists
Mhm.
and get them to be able to get some blood. And as soon as they look at her arms, they're like, oh my gosh, it's like so much scar tissue
Mhm.
on both her arms. I remember also too, like, they had to shave her head like multiple times while in the
Yeah.
hospital so they can be able to put IVs,
Mhm.
on her head because there was just scar tissue left. They had stuck her so many times. And
Yes. I remember one time I went and they tried to stop me before I made it to the hospital bed because they knew I'd be looking at my baby like, why my baby look like this? So we get there and um they had put the IV on the
oh my
top of my
gosh.
baby's head in there. And they were like,
Oh
that's
my
really one of the
gosh.
best spots. And I was like, y'all should warn someone. That just was like, it was
Yes.
so
Oh my
scary.
gosh.
But when they're that little, they find veins and stuff in all the craziest places, inner thighs, their foot, I mean, it's one time he had the Broviac on the side of his head. But yes, it's these little kids, they're something else. I tell you, they are true. They're so strong. They give you so much hope and a look at life and be like, wow, if you can take all those pokes,
Yeah.
I can go give blood. I can do this as well. Yes. So
Yeah.
what are some of the things that you feel like the hospital provides um for you as a family caregiver while inpatient?
So if I go back to like 2009, like
Mhm.
I was saying, there was not really much then. This was definitely before all of the technology. Of course, they had better technology than previous years because they were able to help babies born so early be able to survive. But like I said, when we were there, we could not sleep at the hospital. We had to call to be able to get report on how she was doing. I remember we just had this ugly, plain little, it was kind of like a little square space. And then maybe there was a little curtain that kind of separated, this child in their bed from the other child in their bed.
Mhm.
Or it might have been like just a square little open space, that everybody can see in, and then you can close the curtain on the front for some
Mhm.
privacy. But there, it was not much technology. I don't even remember a TV. Maybe there was, but I was just too, focused on my child to even be worried about the TV. So I don't remember that. I remember when you came in that you had to like make sure you washed your hands really good before you could even go to the back. And they had these like little brushes where you have to scrub
Yes.
all and underneath your fingernails
Mhm.
and stuff like that before you could go back. And then I think you had to put on a gown. Um, so back then, yeah, technology was not all that savvy as it is today. We haven't been in the hospital in a while. I think the last time we went was maybe last year. Yeah, last year she
Okay.
had her spinal surgery.
Oh, wow.
And so we stayed in the hospital for 3 days.
Okay.
And the room, it was a nice room. It was spacious. They have the little day bed, that parents can sleep on,
Mhm.
and the TV, and then you can take a bath or shower there at the hospital, and they might give you like a little coupon ticket to get like one free meal or
Mhm.
something like that. But
Yeah.
as far as the things that they provide, I wish they would provide a better bed because that day bed is very uncomfortable.
It
I'm
sure is.
like, oh
I
my
hate it.
gosh.
It's so uncomfortable and it just feels, but I think as soon as hospitals start updating more and more, hopefully it will be more comfortable. One thing I would like to see more hospitals provide is definitely mental health resources for families and caregivers while you're at the hospital for all those hours. A lot of our children were honestly just sitting there because our children, we know, are either very heavily sedated to calm them down, to keep the heart rate. They're not, they're just there right now. So mentally that can be very a lot on someone. So I think for a mental health resources at free of charge for those who are inpatient in the NICU or PICU, because the PICU does see some life-changing events for families, even after the child, had a healthy life all the way up until a certain age of accident or anything like that. Life-changing events, I think they should provide more mental health resources. I also do think more vouchers for food.
Yeah.
Like, it's you spend a lot of money, vending machines, now some of the rooms do have refrigerators for parents to be able to store foods and snacks. Later on within our journey, I'm always a lunchbox carrier, for water. I'll keep me something else to drink and a lot of little snacks. The last time Lorenzo had surgery, the surgeon came out and she was laughing because she saw on the stroller like all the snacks I had. And I was like, I never know how long these stays are. And my budget is just not with y'all
Okay.
right now. Like, a vending machine, $2.25 for a bag of chips. No, I can't do that.
Right.
So, more vouchers, I think, if after you have a 7-day stay, because $5 voucher for the calf, all you're gonna get is some fries, and you can't
Right.
even get fries and a drink. You just can get fries and have some change left over. So just providing those resources, I think more to a family style like sitting area that's not so hospital feel,
Mhm.
not too cozy, but just where you can step away from the room. And still be on the unit, but have somewhere to just breathe and take a break. I do know for us, we're very fortunate because of where our hospital sits. You can kind of duck off and get some fresh air and have beautiful views of the water. So we are blessed in that area to be able, we can even walk over the sky bridge to just if we want to get away. But different things financially and mental health, I think, is a big thing for hospitals to
Yeah,
have.
definitely. And even if they're not like providing vouchers, at least, when they bring the meals for the child, like if your child can't eat, or even if they can't,
Mhm.
maybe they should provide the parents a meal also, so
Yes.
just like the kid is getting breakfast, lunch, and dinner, if they know the parents are going to be there, they should provide them with a meal also. And
Correct.
then the refrigerators are but so big. I mean, you can't really fit that much in the refrigerator.
Right.
So, you trying to bring a week's worth of meals, you can't really do that. Or even put, a lot of juice or water in there because there's like no room in the refrigerator for
Right.
that.
And we
So
are
that
fortunate because we do have, even though it's very expensive, we do now. When Lorenzo was first born, in 2017, if DoorDash, Uber Eats, or anything like that was available, I personally wasn't familiar with it. But
mhm.
now, I mean, the last time we were inpatient, I think like for a McDonald's meal, maybe like $40.
Oh my
So
gosh.
that's what just like, and it was just horrible. It was cold, but
Oh,
the cafeteria was closed. Um, and that was really the only thing that was still delivering at that time. So those are just some things that we go to the ER sometimes so late because we'll try to hold out throughout the day, and then we
mhm.
forget that, oh my God, when we get there, we're gonna definitely probably be inpatient, and now where are we gonna go eat, and parking and stuff like that. So the different challenges of going to the hospital is just a mess.
Yeah, because I can tell you that I'm definitely like that hangry person. So, after I've waited all day, and then it's like, I swear they keep you waiting in the rooms if you have to go to the emergency department for like 3 hours before they decide what they need to do. And, you can't leave and go anywhere. So, I'm like, oh my gosh, I'm starving. I don't want to get an attitude with any of these people. Like, why are y'all taking so long?
And then you
And
sit
then
in an uncomfortable chair there is
yes,
no TV, it's
and it's
cold.
freezing. Yeah.
Yes.
Yes. So, and
Hoodie
then
for summer.
yeah. And
Yeah.
then, you're used to staying on a schedule and giving your
Mhm.
child their medicine or food at this time, and you were not expecting that you were going to have to be, staying there for so long or
Mhm.
even being admitted. And so then they're not like, oh, what time do they get their medicine? Let's give it to them now. So then they're behind on getting their medicine, and then I already get kind of like anxious about that because I'm so used to being on the schedule, and now I have to wait, and then they're like starting her schedule at a different time. So, I'm like, oh my gosh, she needs her stuff now. Like, just give
Yeah.
her medicine or her food now.
And it's
But
just that's the frustrating thing because then when you go to the hospital, you kind of know what medicines kind of keep your child, doing
yeah.
well. And you're there for another reason. I used to tell them, I was like, okay, we're here for this reason, but now we're going to be here for this reason. If we can't
Oh,
spell it,
okay.
cross this up. We need meds
Exactly.
now. Yes, yes.
Yeah, and then that's a good thing too. I hadn't thought about that too, but yeah, there's definitely no Uber or anything like that when we were in the
Mhm.
hospital. So that probably would have been a lifesaver. But yeah, it's definitely too expensive because I think you're
Yes,
paying like
too expensive.
double when you're ordering,
Hmm.
from those places.
Right.
So yeah, that's something that definitely is different now that you're able to do. I know sometimes people, they are a part of a church community,
Mhm.
or they have like when you have a baby, they have some kind of like meal,
Meal train.
yeah.
Hmm.
And so, you can get friends and family to make meals for you guys while you're in the
Right.
hospital and, bring them to you. So, that's another thing that you can have
Mhm.
when you're in the hospital too. I don't think that I had that
Yeah,
back
that's
when
a
we were
good
in the
thing.
hospital. But as far as like staying at the hospital, since we know sometimes it can be expected, sometimes it's not. What are some things that you usually pack when you are going to the hospital?
Whew, definitely my snacks. I always do like a rag, washcloth, wipes, and a change of underclothes. Um, I always have that. So I will take like if I know we're going to the emergency room, I always grab my backpack. and I usually just remove my wallet clutch thing, and I just take
Mhm.
that out of my purse and put that in my backpack. Because usually if we're going to the hospital, we got the suction, the oxygen, pulse ox, and he's probably not walking at that point, so we're in the stroller. So I keep my backpack, and I usually have that rolled on the bottom. It depends what time. I might have a pair of simple flip flops in there.
Mhm.
Sometimes a pair of socks if I already have on flip flops, because, like we said, the hospital is cold. I always have a hoodie, a snuggie, my blanket, um, deodorant, toothpaste, toothbrush. So I just have my bag kind of always, like I said, that backpack is just ready, especially like starting now. I'll definitely have it ready because we're entering flu season. It pretty much stayed ready during COVID. But definitely, and a charger. Don't
Oh,
forget
yeah.
the charger. Yeah,
Yeah.
that's so important. If anything else, gotta have
Yeah.
your phone charged. Yes. How about you? What are some things?
So I definitely think, yeah, charger, you definitely need that. It seems like your phone dies much quicker when you're
Oh my
just sitting in the
God,
hospital.
yes! I thought it was just me.
So, as far as when I go to the hospital, I definitely have to make sure that I bring her formula. She has two different types of formula, and she does Nourish in the day, and then she does Kate Farms at night. And so I always have to bring formula because it seems like they never have the
Mhm,
formula that she
mhm.
needs. So I always make sure I bring her formula, and then I make sure I bring her pump too, because for some reason it seems like they
It
have
takes
like a
forever.
shortage in the
Mhm,
hospital, or it takes forever to get the pump. So I bring the pump, some extra bags to put the formula in. And then sometimes I even bring her own medicine, because if they're not giving her her
mhm.
medicine at the time that I'm usually giving her medicine, then I will just be like, okay, I already gave her her medicine. I already gave her her water flush. You don't even have to worry about it.
Mhm.
um, I definitely have to bring my own pillow because I'm just like germ freak. I
Yes,
can't, I don't
yes.
want to sleep on any of the hospital pillows. So I bring my own pillow and blanket. That's a must, especially since it's so cold. I'll be asking them for probably like 5 blankets if I didn't bring my own, because
Mhm.
those covers are so
You're
thin.
so thin.
Yeah. And definitely some flip-flops. So when Old Navy has those dollar flip-flop sales, I'm like in there
Mhm.
getting those flip-flops so I can stock up on those. And washcloth, undergarments, definitely snacks, lots of water, my
Mhm.
computer, and what else? Some clothes
Yeah.
for for Ayana, just in case, we are going to leave soon. I bring some clothes for her, or even if I just don't want her in the hospital gown, because now, she's growing a little bit more mature. So I,
Mhm.
want to keep her covered and not so cold.
Right.
I bring her her own blanket also. And what else do I bring? I don't think I bring anything else. Yeah, I think those are basic essentials that you
Yeah.
need in the hospital,
To
but
get you.
definitely making sure, yeah, that you like have an emergency bag
Mhm.
ready to go. That is like a must.
Yes.
And so, making sure that you have the medicine,
And then
your
another thing, when like, I mean, your daughter's 12, my son's 5. So certain things, now when we're at the hospital, we can kind of spit them off to the doctor, team, whatever.
Mhm.
But I will just say the first couple of times you go to the hospital, bring your paperwork, like keep all your after visit notes, in a folder, and grab that folder when you go to the hospital, because when you first start going to the hospital, we all know it's unfortunate. You're probably going to end up having to go. Let's be real. It can be very overwhelming.
Mhm.
Because usually if you're riding the rescue with your child, your family's getting there behind you. So you're worried about how your child is, how your child is looking, and you have five people asking you questions. I remember Mom, what trach size does he have? What G tube size does he have? How much oxygen? What are his vent settings? Wait, what? Hold on. I'm just trying to see, can we get him breathing stable? Well, we need to know this. We need to know that. And it can be very overwhelming to the point where I just printed everything on a paper and I would just hand it out so I wouldn't forget anything. And it would be like, hey, here's the thing: vent settings, everything, oxygen flow. I would have his feeding schedule, his medicine schedule, just everything until you get more familiar with knowing it. Because, like, it can be very overwhelming and it can be intimidating. And like we said, we are our kids' voices. We know the medicines they're on. We know what these medicines do. We've seen how these medicines change their lives. We also know when a dose is missed, what happens as well. So it's very important for you to keep a level headed mind. And, I know it's scary, but to definitely the first couple of times you go to the hospital while you're still just getting familiar with the routine, where to go. I mean, this is the first time that you came in through the ED. You've been just going up this elevator to the NICU or PICU
Mhm.
for these things. Now you're coming back in the ED and your child is not vocal. You don't know what's going on with your child because you are still learning more and more every day about your child. So I would say just have that folder of information and grab it with you. So when you get there, that's like your armor. You're like, hey, I got this. Hold on
Mhm.
before you ask me any questions. This was his last visits. This was his last wait. So you can just have everything on standby right there. That's what I would suggest as well.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
think that's a great idea, and you would think after all these years that I would have a system like that in place, but I don't. I'm definitely like they're like, okay, so how much does she weigh? What was her last, pediatrician visit and stuff like that? I'm like, oh, hold on, let me look through my phone and tell you the exact date because I can give you a roundabout date. So that's definitely a good idea. I think that it can be frustrating also when you go because you have the nurse, the admitting nurse that is there, and you have to give her all this information. And then you've been at the hospital probably about 40,000 times, and they're asking you these same questions, and you're like, okay, we've been here about so many times, so you guys should know all this information. It is in your computer system, so why
Oh
do you
my
have to
goodness.
ask me all these same questions over
Yes.
again? Like, we just were here 2 weeks ago.
Yes, and
And
that's why my mom is like the funniest person to go to the hospital with, because they'll come in and they'll ask all these questions, and she'll be like, "He was born. They can't check his. This is the only hospital he goes to. They can't. They don't have it on file. Shh, shh." And she's like, we're wasting time. But it's just like, and you'd be like, really? How many surgeries have they had? Really? We're
yes,
not going to go
yes.
through all this right now.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I think I've gotten to the point too where I'm like, it's in your system. They've had everything here, so you can go back and look.
and then,
You
like, for
know.
us, you're really the only operating children's hospital. So you already know, like, if we're telling you everything was here, it's in your system.
Yeah, because
But it's
you're talking to the admitting nurse, you're talking to the admitting physician, and they're all asking you the same questions. Then the nurse comes on at night, then she's asking you the same questions for a third time, and it's just like, oh my gosh,
yes,
I just answered these questions
yes.
2 times already. Now you asking me a third time.
Again,
So, yeah, it's
again.
definitely frustrating, and sometimes even, like, when I get into the room, I just automatically go and I erase everything on the little whiteboard they have, and
And
I
put it
like,
down.
"This is their feeding schedule, this is the medicine, this is our names," and I'll write all the information in for
Cell
them.
phone numbers, whatever you need. And then when they come in, look at the board. It's on the board, like
Yes.
right there, no questions. Like, because it's just becomes to the point where you're like, okay, you getting paid like $35 an hour and you can't even click on the computer and look through, ma'am. And then it made me nervous. And I'd be like, I don't want to leave. You're not even researching what you need to know. Scared to even go
Yes.
potty, but I will say this journey, and I think just with this podcast alone, it's going to open the eyes, because we can look back now and chuckle over past experiences, but we know when we were in that present time, it wasn't
Mhm.
chuckle moment, it was scary. So this is just for you moms that are currently in a situation, whether you're inpatient right now. Take time, sit back on like that uncomfortable bed, and just, taking those experiences, because one day you are going to turn around and find some moment out of that hospital stay. While I know it's scary, it's a time, a pause on your life. Especially if you have other children, family, and
Mhm.
everything to hold on to. Your job is stressing you out. But just breathe and enjoy the moment that could be so scary, because this is what the podcast is gonna do. We're gonna turn it into positivity. We're gonna try to help you guys understand it's light at the end of the tunnel. And we just have to keep going. Keep going.
Yeah. And then also, we were going to talk about some ideas and tips on how to survive while in the hospital. And I think we've kind of touched on a lot of those, but especially, yes, for those that are just going through this
Mhm.
experience. Again, it's important that you advocate and, make sure that you are standing up for your child.
Mhm.
Um, so some ideas and tips that I would give on how to survive would be, making sure that you have everything that your child needs. Make sure that you're also thinking, of yourself too, because if we don't care for ourselves first, then we're not going to be able to care for our child. So make sure, that you have things that you may need when you go into the hospital, your cell phone, your charger, like Nicole said, maybe your laptop, maybe you want to try to get some work done, a crossword puzzle book or something entertainment training for yourself. Um, Whatever you do that relaxes you and keeps you calm while you are in the hospital, make sure that you bring those things with you. If you have questions, don't be scared to ask your questions. If you have concerns, don't be scared to say anything. You know your child the best. So when you see something is not right or you don't feel comfortable, speak up, let them know. And for me, I know that having a child that is nonverbal, I definitely feel like I have to be there, for every minute because they're not going to care for her. They're not going to sit there and talk with her. And that is one thing too that I wish that they would change in the hospital setting is some activities for the kids to do, even if they're nonverbal. Just because they're nonverbal does not mean that they don't have feelings or interest in things. They don't want to just be laying in the bed staring at the wall or looking at TV or listening to the TV. So, I know they have like child life specialists that come around sometimes and do activities or check on the kids and give them, little gifts and things like that. But, if the hospital could get more staff or have some kind of program where they can kind of, entertain or have some kind of educational aspect for all children of all abilities, to be able to, be involved, have something to do while they are there instead of just laying in the bed or, leaving it up to the parents to provide everything for them because we need a break sometimes too. Um, it would definitely be something good if they were able to, add in some activities for everyone to be able to participate in or have the staff to be able to fill in those roles when the parents cannot do that. But yes, definitely, make sure you are speaking up when you are not comfortable with something. Make sure that you have all supplies that you can think of that you could possibly need when you're in the hospital. Nicole, do you have any ideas and tips on how to survive while in the hospital?
So what I would suggest is try to stay as positive as possible while you're in the hospital. We know a lot of time our children pick up on our energy. So and I know you're nervous, you're anxious, you have all types of emotions, but just try to breathe and take everything calmly, because our child is the one who's picking up on that, and then they're getting a fear, especially when some of our children don't have strong senses, so other senses pick up more, and we always have to be aware of that. That our kids might not be verbal or speaking and anything like that, but their eyes, so they're watching our body language. So if a doctor comes in there and tells you something of the feet, and they see you go like this, your child can still hear, just because they can't speak. So we have to be very mindful and stay positive. I learned that when Lorenzo was very young, the doctor told me, we didn't even really understand, but he said, "Oh, mom, stop speaking," because Lorenzo was intubated and he was bending his head back to follow my voice. And I was like, whoa, he's picking up my voice, my tone, and he's looking like, we just glazed eyes, and he was looking at me like, "You're my voice, you're here to protect me." And I was just like, whoa. So just be mindful of the conversations you have in the hospital room, bedside, around your child, the tears you shed, and everything like that, because we do always have to remember our child is the one in that position. While it's painful on us, our child is the one in that hospital bed. Our child is not in their own room. Our child is not able to smell the fresh flowers. We're able to go outside and get some fresh air. So, with that, read whatever positivity you have to read. We're going to be putting a playlist on the website for you to listen to. Put your AirPods in your ear, your headphones, and listen to that. Speak positivity over your child. Put affirmation sticky notes in your child's room. Keep yourself as positive as can be, because it can be overwhelming. Don't Google too much of it. Google, do your research, but don't go off in the weeds where now you're having a dang on panic attack. Ask questions. If the doctor has to draw 50,000 pictures, draw them. If the doctor has to explain it
Mhm.
50,000 times, let him. Don't ever feel like you are taking too much time from a doctor or a nurse. That is what they're paid to do. They're paid to take care of your children and explain everything to you. And you have a right to know. You might not understand fully what they're
Mhm.
saying Monday. Ask them on Tuesday. You still might not get it, because you're taking in something's wrong with your child emotionally, and you still got the outside world. So stay as positive as you can. And if you got to ask the doctor morning, night, midday, ask the nurse practitioner, the PA, and ask the nurse, and you have to do it 7 days straight, do it. Don't ever feel like you're bothering people. If you need help with anything in the room, do it. The people are there, paid to take care of you guys and assist you. So I would just say stay as positive as can be. That's like one of the biggest things in the hospital. Watch what you listen to, watch what you read. Just stay positive. That would be my
That
biggest.
Yeah, those are some great tips. And then lastly, make sure that you have a support system in place. I
Mhm.
know a lot of times, as parents, we get caught up with ourselves and we think that we can just take on everything. We can be the superhero. And then we're drained, then we're tired, and we don't know why, because
Mhm.
we've tried to take on all these responsibilities, as whether it's as a mother, a wife, a teacher, you work somewhere, you have a full-time job, we
Mhm.
take on all these different roles. And so it is important that you do not try to pile your plate over, and that you have a team of people to
Mhm.
support you. So, whether it's your mother, your father, a good friend, a aunt, uncle, whoever that you can have to be able to support you in this time while you are staying in the hospital, make sure that you reach out to them and let them know how you're feeling or what you need. Don't be scared to let them know, I'm not good right now and I need help.
Mhm.
So make sure you have your team in place of people that will be there to support you. and give you that positivity, like Nicole said, also to keep you uplifted and encouraged. Um,
Yeah.
so yes, make sure you have a support team. Who is your support team? Make sure that you put that in the comments too.
Yeah.
Nicole, who is your support team? Do you have any people that
Yeah.
are there for you?
My support team, of course, would be his dad, my mom, my grandma, my dad, very much supportive. And we'll have to get on the whole for another episode of co-parenting with a medically complex child. That's something we can definitely touch bases on another episode. But let me just say it has gotten a lot better. Um, so very much very supportive for each other, for our child. And always there when it comes to our child and stuff like that. So we're very good on that point. But yes, my mom is my rock. She has been there from the time, when all of it first happened till, now she's, really helping me with him because with Lorenzo, you do have to be trained to watch him and stuff like that because he still does rely on his trach. So if it ever gets plugged, you do have to know how to change it. And he does still, have his relies heavily still on his G tube, which, if that pops out, you have to know how to place it back in. So I've always been limited to who I can just drop Lorenzo off with or anything like that. So my mom has been a very big support system. My mom and my grandma. Yes. Very big. How about you?
So I would say my support system is definitely my mom. She has been there also from the beginning, and she's, always checking in on us, making sure that Ayana is okay. And I always say when Ayana goes around her grandma, it's like she's a totally different child because I'm here and I'm like, she is whining, she's yelling, she's this and that and da da da. And then when she's with my mom, she's like, she was just an angel. She was just quiet and I'm like, oh my gosh.
Like who's
But definitely every time my mom comes around, she smiles from ear to ear like she knows her
oh,
voice.
that's good.
So yeah, my mom, she is definitely my support system.
That's
And when you guys go on to our YouTube channel, Two Moms and Some Labels, make sure that you comment below. Make sure that you put any questions or ideas. Let us know how your experiences were when you were in the hospital, or when you go to the hospital, what you bring or what you need to do before you get there. Let us know. Put in the comments who's your support
yes.
team.
Yes. We would love to hear from you guys. This is what it's all about, just sharing different things that we have gone through. So whether you're sitting in it or you're about to experience it, you have a little bit of idea of like, oh, okay, I know two other moms that went through this. Oh, I know another mom that went through this. And then the more you guys comment and stuff, we're just connecting with moms from all over. And it's great. And I'm so excited to see where this is going. It's 2022 now, so we're just kicking off. This is episode 2, and we have so much in store to discuss and really to make a change. I think the one thing I've always admired about Brittany is when I see her advocacy for the medically complex community, the knowledge she has. To really want to make an impact and have our children included in everything and no longer excluded. Having our children, more people understand you don't have to look, you don't have to stare. Having younger children understand that all kids, we always talk about every child is not white, every child's not black, but we don't talk about the children that have a little extra with them. Might have a wheelchair, might have a G tube, might take their food a little different. And with that, the more and more we talk about it and bring normalcy to it, the more and more our children will have resources and they'll be valued when Senate and Congress is going to make decisions. Right now, they look at our children like they don't have voices, so they don't matter. And I think beating Brittany and just knowing her voice, she showed me that my voice matters for my child, and we can help other moms understand. And like I say, we can do more in numbers, and I'm really excited. So the more you guys share, the more ideas we can have. We can take it to hospitals, we can take it to legislation, we can go ahead and make a change just from these general conversations of experience and different things. Let us know what you guys experienced at the hospital, whether it was bad or good. Let us know different tips in your hospital bag. Let us know different tips for survival. Let's talk about these things because now we can go ahead and share it with others and make a change. And I'm all for it.
Yes, and thank you guys so much again for listening to Two Moms and Some Labels, episode 2, Living in the Hospital. Make sure you go check us out on our YouTube channel, Two
Yay.
Moms and Some Labels. Email us with any questions or concerns, two moms and some labels at hotmail.com, and we will have a website coming soon. Again, thank you so much. I hope that you guys enjoyed this episode. We will see you
Enjoy.
guys soon.
See you soon.